recently started hiking and traveling in popular locations. I've come across many beautiful types of scenery and amazing peaks, but none will ever be as haunting and memorable as Yellowstone Park. I didn't know this, but many people have claimed that there were eerie noises and strange sounds while they were hiking at Yellowstone. This happened last year. I was with my boyfriend at the time. We both love hiking and nature itself. Thus, it was only natural that we would hike up Yellowstone. Neither of us knew the history behind it, but heard from a few friends that it was an unbelievable place. Needless to say, we were both sold. We walked for a good couple hours, just enjoying the trees and animals. It was really a sight to behold. Time went by fast, and before we knew it, the sun had set and the bright blue skies had been overwhelmed by darkness. Then the sound of nature stopped. All of the chirping, the brush of the trees, the woodpeckers, the crickets just seemed to stop. I heard it as loud as a lawnmower. The eerie sound that has Yellowstone's visitors creeped out. I looked at my boyfriend, frozen in fear. He looked at me and told me it's nothing. We were far away from our tents, and it was too dark to see a couple meters in front of us. I held my boyfriend's arm really tight as he led the way. I swear the sound was following us every step. It only sounded like it was getting louder and louder. It felt as if we were a protagonist of a horror movie and something was stalking us through the forest. As we kept walking, I became really tired and dizzy. I nudged my boyfriend, but he kept walking. He told me that he saw someone in the distance and then we could catch up to them. I couldn't see anyone anywhere, so I asked him to point them out. He might have been hallucinating or something because there was absolutely nothing ahead of us. All I saw were trees, no light whatsoever. Then all of a sudden, my boyfriend fell as our hands slipped apart. At that point, my heart ripped in half. Leaves could be heard falling apart from underneath as the sound of my boyfriend's scream echoed in the night.
This morning, when I woke up later than usual, I was absolutely exhausted. You may think, isn't everyone exhausted when they first open their eyes? Sure, but this was worse, and more so than usual. I could hardly move, let alone think. My eyes felt like they had weights pulling them down. I used so much force as I had to flip myself onto my back, sit up, and slide off my warm, inviting bed. Why couldn't I just stay in bed? I slowly trudged to the kitchen, where I yawned thousands of times and lazily made some eggs and coffee to wake up. I know, stereotypical, but it works. Except this morning, my coffee hardly woke me up. Anyways, while I was making my eggs, I could hardly stir them because my forearm was itching horrendously. I checked it out, but there was only a slight red tint to my arm, which I assumed was from scratching it so much. I ate my eggs, showered, put on my work clothes, and got in the car. I knew I was safe enough to drive, by the way, so don't worry. I walked into the large, window-filled building, waving hello to my coworkers. I have a normal desk job since I just got out of college. I was surprised when I got hired so soon after graduating, but I was very thankful. I sat down, yawned a few times, and scratched my arm. The itching was that crawly sensation you get where you just chase the itch up and down. I didn't think much of it. and my arm was still just a bit red. I kept working, itching, and talking to other employees as they passed by to make copies of something, or deliver coffees, or other boring work stuff. After my workday was over, I headed home and changed into some sweats and a baggy t-shirt. I flopped down onto my soft, comfortable couch and turned on the TV for some background noise while I messed around on my phone. I checked my arm since it was bugging me and felt like it had little spiders tickling my arm. Now it had a large red bump and was a bit warm and tender to the touch. I itched it more and more out of curiosity and the pure need to satisfy the itch. It was getting more and more irritated by the second and became a larger bump. I knew by now I should have told someone, but I just kept itching. It started to move, and I felt scuttling on my bones. I screamed and hit my arm, trying desperately to kill whatever it was. I jumped around and scratched my arm so hard it was bleeding. I couldn't stop screaming, itching, and now crying out of fear. It kept moving up and up my arm until it reached my lower shoulder blade, where I could hardly reach it due to my inflexibility. I felt it scrape against my shoulder blade. Now it was on my spine, and I felt a sharp bite to my upper neck. I couldn't move. It paralyzed me. But I could still feel everything from the neck up. I felt it dig into my bones and nerves. All the while I was crying on the floor, unable to call for help. Suddenly it stopped. No more biting, no more scratching. Nothing. I felt an extra weight spread out on my neck, and it was like beads were rolling on my neck. I knew exactly what it was. Eggs. Whatever that thing is, just laid eggs inside of me, and now was breaking through my skin. I couldn't even scream anymore. I just accepted it. Hot tears rolled down my face as it crawled off of my body and scurried off to its next victim, covered in blood. I laid in that spot for an entire day, just waiting for something to happen. No one came to my house, not for days. I accepted that I was going to die like this. The eggs hatched on the 5th day of me laying on the floor in misery and defeat. The larva crawled under my facial muscles, out through my eyes, my neck, and my nose. I whimpered and waited for it all to be over. I was on a schizophrenic bender of a year. Failed medication after failed medication, when I ended up being at the psych hospital. There was something I noticed that made me feel truly afraid. The coffee from the coffee maker in the cafeteria smelled like septic water. I noticed that the sickest patients reeked of the smell, the exact same smell. 2 days in, I started smelling whiffs of it everywhere I went. I recoiled and covered my face from the sheer putrid, what smelled like rotten flesh, which had been soaked in insanitary water. Other patients said that they smelled it too. On the very sick patients. The one who wore a gown because he hadn't arrived in clothes. I spoke with him. He was obviously brain damaged and very slow to speak. The others who smelled like it from behind, like when you were behind them in line for medication. They were always the ones whose behavior was most disturbed or sickly. 3 days later, I smelled it and almost vomited while in shower. I knew it had to be something in the water. The water was causing the smell. I then stepped out of the shower and was relieved that it had vanished. As I dried my rear end, I smelled it again. I froze and stared at the wall. The wall had something on it I noticed from being frozen in fear, and it made me get chills and hold my breath. Carved into the wall in a facility with no sharp objects were the words, "I died here, August 2009. I then held out the part of the towel that had been on my rear end and realized that the smell was coming from my rear end. Time passed, I went back into the world, and I noticed my chewing gum smelled like that smell. I noticed that any black coffee I bought or brewed smelled like that. One day I was emptying my laundry while visiting my parents, and my fresh dry clothes coming out of the dryer smelled like it. I remarked that the clothes smelled like rotting flesh, and my mother took a piece of cooked chewing gum from the hot clothes. It had been heated in one of my pockets. She said,
"I didn't know what is wrong with you. It smells like the gum you had always chewed."
At that instant, it smelled like cinnamon chewing gum. I visited my outpatient psychiatrist with good news about my mental health and a new medication working wonders for my schizophrenia. As I was leaving, I noticed an obviously mentally ill, sloppy dressed, overweight man standing near the entrance. As I walked past him, I caught a whiff of that smell. There was no chewing gum in the hospital. From that day on, coffee didn't smell like it, and my gum didn't smell like it. However, last week, I noticed a piece of gum in my laundry, a heated piece again. Although I had quit chewing it and hadn't carried it for months, I held it up to my nose and it smelled like rotting flesh soaked in sewage water.
"Today's the day," Mommy said. "I finally get a new arm. I'm so excited. I've really missed having two arms, especially since Daddy stopped playing with me outside. I think he's scared the other one will get hurt too. My mommy said my new arm is going to be awesome. She found a super cool program that lets people replace their missing arms. Can you believe that? When she told me, I jumped up and down for a million hours from being so excited. Daddy doesn't talk about it. I don't know why. I wish he'd get excited too, but that's okay. I tried to ask Mommy where my new arm is coming from, and she told me that God is giving it to me. Isn't that awesome? I really hope it's fun to use. Maybe it'll even catch balls better."
"Honey, it's time to go,"
Mom yelled from downstairs. I raced down the stairs so fast I almost fell. I gotta be careful or my new arm won't stay on me like the last one didn't. My old arm was stupid anyway. It wouldn't have broken if it would have worked right.
On the drive to the hospital, Mom let me play whatever music I wanted to. Today is such a good day. Mommy said I might have to stay at the hospital a few nights. That's okay. She's gonna stay with me too. It didn't take very long to get to the hospital, but the funny thing is that this isn't our normal hospital. This one is in the country behind a lot of trees. Isn't that weird? I asked Mommy why we're going to this one, and she said it was because they're the people who put new arms back on. I like this hospital.
After we parked, Mommy got out and unbuckled me from my car seat. I hate my car seat, but if I don't sit in it, Mommy will get in trouble. We walked up to the hospital holding hands. The building was so big. It was gray and red and had the words Jersey Replacement Center on the side lit up with something under the words. We walked in and the first thing I noticed was how cold it was. I hate being cold. The place we walked into had a really big desk and a really little woman behind it.
The woman greeted us with a big smile and said,
"Welcome to JRC. How can I help you?"
Mommy told her we were there for a replacement, and the lady told Mommy where we needed to go. We went in the elevators. They were so cool. It was one big mirror instead of walls. Mommy didn't like it as much as I did. We got to the 7th floor and stepped out of the elevator. There was a sign that read, "Appendage Replacement," with an arrow pointing to the right. I followed the signs until we found which area we needed to be in. Mommy checked in, and about 5 minutes later, a nurse came and got me and my mommy. I started getting a little scared because I don't like hospitals. I'm so scared of needles. but Mommy was there, so I had to be brave.
Sit still, honey, so the nurse can put the IV in your arm.
Mom said as she held my hand. I squeezed my eyes shut tight and held my breath. I barely felt the needle.
The nurse smiled at me while she took something off the counter and put it into the IV in my arm.
This will make you a little sleepy, Charlie. Don't worry, it's okay if you fall asleep.
I started feeling myself get sleepy, but I was fighting it because I wanted to talk to Mommy before I go. I tried really hard to fight it, but it didn't work. In a matter of seconds, I'd fallen asleep.
I woke up in a really cold room. I had a blanket on me, and I saw Mommy sleeping on the chair next to my bed. I almost forgot about my arm until I felt the soreness and pain from the replacement. I have a new arm. I can't believe it. I actually have 2 arms now. I started yelling, and it woke up Mommy.
Hi there, sweetheart. You did so well in surgery. You're so brave, sweet boy.
Mommy talked to me and smiled so big. I touched my new arm with my normal arm. It felt weird, especially since I wasn't used to having 2 arms. I tried to lift it up, but Mommy told me I need to be careful and let it heal. I can't wait to finally use it.
3 weeks later, and I'm finally healed enough to use my arm. Except I started noticing my arm doing weird things. I'm scared to tell Mommy because I don't want to lose my new arm. It keeps doing things without me telling it to. Almost as if it has a mind of its own. Almost as if it belonged to someone else first.